The problem with our brain is if it's a brand new audience and they've never seen you before, or a brand new concept and you're trying to move them to this new belief point, then you have to simplify your message, because incoming information is processed by our amygdala, which is the emotional core center of the brain. It sends a distress signal to the hypothalamus, which is the command center, which filters things to decide what's important, what's new and novel, what should we pay attention to. And the command center will send that message, if it feels it's important enough, it'll send that message out to the rest of the body and the neocortex, which is the higher level of processing in our brain. And it filters that incoming info very, very quickly. And it filters it based on past events that have happened to us, which are anchored in emotion, our beliefs. It's been built before. It's that old part of the brain. It's a very simple part of the brain. And maybe it's not necessarily that it's correct, it's right, but it's just how we feel. It's based on our beliefs, based on our emotions. And so most of that info gets filtered away unless your system decides that it's something that needs a deeper look. So if you keep it simple for that new audience and not too complex, they're going to be much more likely to pay attention and to set a filter in the brain for the future that's steeped in emotion. So that's why it works. If you've ever read Pitch Anything by Oren Klaff, he talks about that, messages are composed and sent by our young neocortex, are received and processed by the other person's older crocodile brain. So when we're presenting, like I'm presenting now, I'm really operating more in the neocortex. It's a deeper level of the brain. I'm giving more detail to you. And but when people are listening, that is, if you haven't already been opened to this concept, then if they're just kind of watching for new and novel information and stuff that might help them, then that filtering system is probably going to filter it away, and they're not even going to see. So in order to get to this point, though, you have to do a little bit of pre-homework. And you do that by doing what I call the belief pattern mapping steps. So here's one I did for me for a webinar that I want to create. And so I talk about, the kind of audience that I want to attract. Well, a lot of them have this whole concept ingrained in their belief patterns, that the early bird gets the worm, that they have to be a hustle and grinder, that whole Gary Vee and Grant Cardone propaganda. And, but it's steeped in the values that they grew up with, hard work and respect. That's what they stand for. So if you kind of just follow this mapping process through, you define what they currently believe, what they stand for, and then what they need to believe to move forward, to, do something to get the desired outcome that they wish, but do it in a way where they're, investing with you because you have the innovative solution for them. So what they need to believe is that the old thinking, that's old thinking. And that there's new thinking. Biohackers say that we have to slow down and relax our mind to move into a creative flow that produces more in less time and makes you happier. And that's kind of the way that I've changed my life. I used to be this guy. I used to be the 16, 18 hour a day guy, and it almost killed me. So it took me a while. It took me many years, actually, to move to my new belief system. So these are, I'm not going to go through all of these, but you can kind of grasp the concept here. Being an entrepreneur is hard. That's what they think now. Creativity and expertise comes from putting in the hours, the whole 10,000 hours concept. And success comes from working long, hard hours. These are all embedded in their values and beliefs currently. Well, if I'm going to get them to do things in a new way, in a different way, a better way, a more value innovative way, which is my solution, I got to get them to move to this new belief. If I can't get them to move to this new belief that there's an easier way, a better way, a way to simplify things, then I'll never get them to invest. So, as we go through this, what I make sure I do is, well, for a webinar, I make sure that in the presentation that my slides will hit every one of these points and move them to a new belief. If you look at the presentation right here, I did it right here in this presentation. Go back and watch it again. You'll see all the little things that I've done to move you to a new belief. And so you take each one of these things, put it into, make sure you've got slides that deal with it. You've got to tap into their existing belief, which is tied to an emotion, and move them to a new belief. And so what I like to do if I'm, working up to a big launch, or I have something that I'm going to sell, or I've got a big promotional offer, then I like to do these little short snippet videos, 2 to 3 minutes, like I did with Pam, and put that out there and build an audience off of that, and then retarget the people who watch those videos to whatever, if it's a webinar or a VSL that you're sending them to or whatever it might be.